through a practice automation. We're going to try and get this right sort of from the get-go. Feel free to watch and re-watch this video sort of as many times as you like, just to make sure that we're getting it right and following along. So the first thing we did, we had a new design, hit save, practice automation. I'm going to hit save there. I'm just going to get rid of that data panel so we have more space to model here. I'm going to start on the right hand side, click sketch, put a new sketch, rectangle 100 by 100. We're going to extrude that 3, and that we have is the first shape. Now that's a body, so over here on the left hand side we're going to click that, right click, create components from body. We call this the right side. It's important that we name our components just to keep track of everything. Now I'm going to rotate this around, so I'm looking at the left side. I'm going to put a sketch on there, rectangle from the top point, 100 wide, 3 deep. And the reason that we're using 3mm deep for all of these is because our MDF is 3mm deep, and that's what we're going to cut it out with the laser. So we're going to extrude that shape. We're going to extrude this one 94. We want a perfect cube at the bottom. 94 extrusion plus 3mm either side gives us the 100. And that's what we have there. So I'm just going to undo that very quickly. Extrude again, we want to go 94. But before I hit OK, I do need to make sure that's a new component. So I'm going to select OK there, rename that component top. I'm then going to select the same face again there on the left hand side, another sketch, I might zoom out just a little bit, rectangle, and the same thing on the bottom here, up 3, long 100, and extrude that 94 as well. Again, we don't want to join that, we want a new component, so we're going to select new component and click OK. Renaming that component base. And then you notice I do this all in capitals. It just, when it comes into a drawing, meets the Australian standards and looks a little bit nicer, a little bit neater. So we currently have one side and a top and bottom. So now I'm going to select the edge of the top piece, and I'm going to put a new sketch on there. That's going to be a rectangle, so starting at that top corner, 100 by 100, and then I want to extrude that as well. Now when I select that, I do have to make sure I go up and get the little bit that's in contact there as well, because we want to extrude the whole thing. We're coming 3 further out, new component, OK, and we're going to call that the left side. Okay, so you can see there we have our base, which is just a box. You can see how we now would join these together with these two. Now these currently aren't joined at all, there's no joinery there. In saying that, we'll put that in sort of shortly. So we're drawing them in situ at the moment, is what it's called, in the right situation. Just there as it is. Alright, now we're going to go back to the right hand side. So click right, select the side, new sketch. We're going to put a circle on this sketch. So C for circle, throw it in anywhere, 6mm. We're going to use D for dimension between the center of the circle and the outside, and I'll just place that outside there. I want that to be 50. Dimension again between here and here, and again 50. So we now have that right in the middle. I'm now going to extrude. I want to extrude that -3, so just to cut through that first plane there, cut, I'm going to click OK. So we now have our right hand side with a hole. Now I also want to use that sketch to do something else, so I'm going to come over to sketches. I'm going to grab sketch number 5, and I do have to zoom in a little bit just so I can get this selection right. I want to select the circle there, and I want to do another extrusion, but I want to do it on 2 sides. So I'll zoom back out again. This gives me 2 different distances, and I'll rotate around just so we can see which way we're pulling those. So I'm going to pull this one out 10 millimeters that direction, and we're going to go with 40 millimeters in. We don't want to join, we need another new component, so I'm going to go with new component and click OK. So now we're going to change the name of that component. We're going to call it rod. And that's where we're going to get all our drive. From here, we're going to place a sketch on the end of our rod. Now before we do, we have the left side here, which is a little bit in the way, so we're just going to turn it off. Okay, so over here select the eye, turn that one off. I'm going to select the face. On the end there we're going to create another sketch. So C for circle, we want the 6 mil right in the middle, and then I'm going to put another circle. I'm going to come straight up here, place that circle. I want that circle to be 30 in diameter, and I'm going to hit D and just dimension in between these two. I'm going to make that 10. This is what's going to give us our up and down movement and make this work for us really well. So now that we've got that, E for extrude, I want to select the outside shape. I'm going to go -3, so it's still 3 mil thick. Again, I don't want to join it, I want a new component. I'm going to select OK. So this one here we're going to call cam, and like I said, this is what's going to give us our up and down movement. So we can probably start putting some movement in there. I'll select this cam, drag it off here. We want to go up to joint. So we can either select joint up here, or we can click on assembly and come down to joint. Alternatively, you can select the shortcut key J. We want to hit capture the position. We don't want it to move. And I want to join the end of our circle here with the end of our circle here. You can see those are joined together. In our dialog box here on the right, you can see the position from component 1 to component 2 we've got done. There's no offset or angle that we've asked for, and if we come over here to motion, we have a fixed joint or a rigid joint, which is what it says here. Is exactly what we want, and we're going to click OK. The second piece I'm going to grab and move, and you can see that moves then as one piece because it is actually joined together. And so I'm going to push this through here. I want to make sure it's just sort of coming out the side and off to the side a bit. I want to be able to select both these circles as well. So again, joint, capture the position on the end of this circle, the end of this one, and those are going to line up. Now this one we want to be offset just a little bit. So I'm going to rotate that round to look from the front. I'm just going to drag that out, our 10 millimeters. That gives us the 10 mil that we had previous, and it's exactly what we're after. So once we've done that, this one, we don't want to be rigid in here. Okay, so we'll just rotate around so we can see again. In here we have the rigid symbol. That's not what we're after this time, so we need to go into motion. We want this to rotate. I'm going to go to Revolute. When we select that, we can see the arrow going around, and that's going to give us our rotation. So we select OK. Now if we want to test this and make sure just that very simple animation is working, we come over to joints. We go to our revolve, right click and click animate model. We can see it there turning around. That's giving us the full range of movement that we need to now drive an arm or something like that. So escape to stop that, and we can get back then to our drawing. So on the edge of our circle, on our cam, I should say, we're going to put a pin. So I'm going to select that surface, C for circle. I'm going to come in from the inside. I'm going to make this one 6 as well. It's a fairly reasonable sort of size. We want to offset that, so I'm going to go with distance from the middle. Being 10, which is good. Just to make sure that we're right there. So we've got 10 there. We're going to select E for extrude. We're going to grab that one and we're going to drag that out. Now, we haven't done a great deal of measuring through this example. So first thing I'm going to do is select front. Second thing I'm going to do is turn back on that left side, and I want to make sure that this is going to come out much further than halfway. I'm thinking 20 millimeters is about right. This piece we are actually going to join, and we'll just join it as it is to our cam. Now, sorry, let me rephrase that. I'm going to extrude that negative first and cut. -5 will work okay. I'm then going to jump back to that sketch again, hit E for extrude. I want to select that circle again, and I'm going to go with two-sided. Now the reason that I'm doing that is just for consistency's sake, so I'm going to go with that one going back 3, and this one coming out 20. We don't want to join, we want another new component. Because this cam we can cut with the laser, and 6mm rods we can use some timber dowel. So new component, I'm going to click OK. I'm going to call this one the pin, and we have it there now. Again, that's a new shape. This time I might turn off the right side, because we need to put a relationship in here. This one currently moves. So I'm going to select joint, capture the position. I want that surface there, and that one there. Now that one's revolving, which is not really what we want it to do. We want it to stay still. So we're going to lock that one in nice and tight and click OK. We can then put that right side back. Last but not least, actually, it's not even close to least, I'm very sorry. So we need to select this full part on the right-hand side, right-click, and I want to ground that component. That means it's not going to move. It gives everything else a reference point. These sides, we can still move, and if we want to join these together, the easiest way is join, capture position. We want the top corner and the top corner, and those two will join together nicely. So we can then select OK. That's exactly what we're after. And then we can go and do that for the rest of these as well. So you move these out of the way slightly. Just got to make sure you're getting the right corners. Join, capture the position. I want the bottom corner there, the bottom corner here. Done. Okay. J for join, bottom corner here, bottom corner here. Okay. We can see now we have joins on all those. We do not need to put a join here because it's restrained by the two in the diagonals, so we don't have to worry too much about that. Okay. Next components we are going to look at creating is an arm that comes off our pin and goes up through the top piece into our next part.